Thank you. It's the 11th of September. Rabbi Levitt, Horeb. I think Alan is trying to get in. I'm going to email him.
Okay, very good. Thank you for that. Okay, so yes, we are.
Maybe if Alan comes in quickly enough, we could just you could just summarize just like he did just now. This previous chapter, 48, 448, because the rest of it will probably not make that much sense if they don't read it themselves or if we don't tell them what it was.
Yeah, the first thing that the verse starts off with is it's only through Hashem that you have the right to make use of the creations that He created in this world, and you want to you need to have permission to eat them. That's the first thing. And so when he says to you, these are the creations that I've created that you may use for food, and these that I've created you may not use for food. So therefore, if a person would decide to say, well, no, I'm going to use whatever I want to do for food. So that would, first thing he says is it's contrary to Hashem's command as the creator and the master. And second of all, he says that there is a reason why you should not eat those things. He says they'll make you less capable in my holy service. So that, I guess, would be a logical reason, if you're looking for logical reasons for why it is that you wouldn't be able to eat foods that are not permissible. They're not going to be healthy to eat. They're not going to be healthy spiritually. They'll make you less capable in my holy service.
Good morning, Alan.
Morning.
Good
morning, Alan.
Morning.
Okay. Okay, so we are talking about food, and more specifically, we're talking about that the Torah says that there's certain things, certain creations that Hashem created that we have a permission. He gave us permission to use them for food, and then there's others that we don't have any permission to use them as food, as we are part of the Am Yisrael, the nation, the holy nation that undertakes to serve Hashem. And so that would be, of course, a contrary to the service of Hashem to violate His command. That's the opposite of avodas Hashem. And number two, he said, in fact, to eat these creatures There's a reason why it is that Hashem said not to eat them. They will make you less capable in your task, in your appointed task of serving me. Okay, but he concludes at the end of this section that even in regard to other commandments that there is in the Torah, and you believe, we believe that we understand why it is that these commandments have been given. Nevertheless, we should not fulfill such commandments because on that account that we understand why it is that they were commanded. Why not? What's wrong with doing that? We understand it, so we do what we understand. So he says, then you'll be only listening to yourself. So you made yourself the arbiter of what it is that you're willing to do and not do, and that's not called avodas Hashem. That's called listening to yourself, and you're supposed to listen to Hashem. That's called avodas Hashem. To listen to Hashem, to do it. So therefore, he reiterates, we should obey the commandments because Hashem has given the command. They come from Him, and he says, all the creatures that I created, this is what they do. They do my command. And so, just like all the other creatures that I created do my command, you should also be like that and do my command. And that is your destiny. I guess which that means that's your task. That's what you were created to do. Okay. All right, so that's in a nutshell that long paragraph that we just read. Now we go to 449, and we go to Mayor to continue the reading, please.
449, okay. And how can you be sure you have grasped the reason for these divine laws? Do you really know the nature of the creatures around you? Do you know your own nature? How nourishment is related to the bodily powers and the bodily powers of those of the soul, the organ of which is the body. Only when you know all this, not only theories concerning it, only when you know yourself and your exact place in the sphere of creation as your Creator knows you and your place, only then may you be surprised at not being able to understand the reason for these laws. Allow yourself, therefore, to be guided by your Creator and your God, who has led you out of Egypt so that you will be holy unto Him, and be holy as He is holy, and summons you to holiness.
That is what we say when we make a bracha before we do a mitzvah, birkas ha-mitzvahs. We say, Asher kedeshanu b'mitzvosav. Hashem has sanctified us. He's made us holy. Us, if we do them, we will increase our level of sanctity and holiness, kedusha. And so, unless we have the level of knowledge of ourselves and the creations around us, to the same level that Hashem knows who we are and what our place is. Only then, he says, would we have a reason to be surprised at the fact that we don't understand what's the reason for this mitzvah. So since we don't have that level of knowledge and understanding, so we simply allow ourselves to be guided by Hashem and by His commandments.
Mhm.
Okay. Wow. 450, we go to Lou.
The dietary laws may be classified into the following categories. 1, which animals are permitted for food, which are not. 2, which parts of the animal are permitted, which are not. 3, conditions under which permitted animals are prohibited. 4, method of slaughtering animals which serve as food. 5, food substance compounds which may not be eaten. 6, relationships of mixtures of the permitted and the forbidden in vessels which have absorbed forbidden food. 1, permitted and forbidden animals. Among the mammals, each that has the 2 signs of 1, completely cloven hooves, and 2, chewing the cud, is clean for eating purposes. Everything else is unclean. Every animal that chews the cud also has cloven hooves, except the camel, hare, and rock badger. And everyone that has cloven hooves chews the cud, except the swine. Every animal except for the young camel that has no teeth in the upper jaw. The legal texts simply speak of teeth, which expression probably refers only to the front teeth, since oxen, etc., also have molar teeth in the upper jaw, and no nevine, apparently canine teeth, and therefore this category includes animals which have no front or canine teeth in their upper jaw, is usually clean. This follows from the fact that such animals chew the cud and also have cloven hooves. For the old camel, hare, and rock badger have teeth in the nevine, front or canine teeth, in the upper jaw. An old traditional rule further states that there is no unclean animal except for the arud, usually taken to be a wild ass, whose flesh under the ukats, usually taken as the tailbone, runs in longitudinal and latitudinal directions, in whichever way it be cut. The practical and anatomical application of this rule is not clear. These rules should be applied to the investigation of an animal whose feet or jaw or both can no longer be investigated. I think I'll hand over the torch. This is a very long section.
Very well. Okay. So the next one to read is Alan.
Page 320, number 2.
320, number 2.
Okay, among the birds, the Torah gives no signs in writing for birds, but simply lists 24 types of birds as being forbidden, with all others permitted. We are, however, no longer able to determine these types and may everywhere eat only those birds that the that the trustworthy tradition of the place labels clean. Yet the oral law has handed down some signs, namely every bird, which is Doros, for example, that treats its food like a bird of prey is certainly unclean, and every bird that if set upon a rope stretches two tocks to both sides, or catches and consumes food straight out of the air without first bringing it down to the ground, is certainly Doros. And to be sure that a bird is not
Sorry, what does Doros mean?
Doris is the word means to be Doris is to trample upon.
First part there, it says it treats its bird food like a bird of prey. In the middle there, it says, yet the oral law has handed down some signs, namely every bird which is Doros, example, that treats its food like a bird of prey is certainly unclean.
That's right.
And to be sure, and it's in the middle of the paragraph, and to be sure that a bird is not Doros, there must be another 3 signs upon the toes, the crop, and the stomach for the bird to be considered clean. But we lack the experience and knowledge even to distinguish these signs. The rule for us is therefore, birds may be eaten only on the basis of tradition when the unclean sign of Doros exists. However, then the authority of tradition is not enough to declare the bird clean. So, see concerning this and what is to be done in the case of different traditions in various places. It's number 2. So now at the bottom of the page of 320, right, number 3, among the fishes.
Okay.
Yeah. You want me to continue?
Okay, if you want.
Okay.
You want to continue?
Among the fishes, everything that has fins and scales is permitted, everything else not. One should be able to scale off scales, at least with a knife. They're permitted even if the fins or scales would only grow on later, or one knows for certain that the fish had them in the water and they fell off when they were taken out of the water. One fin and one scale is enough, but then as a rule, the scale should be under either the jaw or the tail of the fin. It is enough even if the scales are so small that one can recognize them only by wrapping around a cloth or on the surface of the body in which the fish is replaced. Every fish that has scales usually also has fins, but every fish that has fins has, but not every fish that has fins has scales. The oral law gives further signs for certain cases. For example, a broad head and a considerable fishbone spine is a sign of cleanliness and others. Yet, they are not usually enough to declare a fish clean. The fish has no fins or scales.
Tummy Tohor.
So that's the end of the section on fishes. And next is amphibians.
Interesting that the word, the 2 words that we see in the Torah are Tameh and Tohor. Don't know why he translates the word Tohor as clean or unclean. It's very, Tameh doesn't mean it's unclean. It means that it's Tameh. It's not dirty. It's a funny translation. But I know that this is the way people refer to it. It seems to me it's incorrect. I guess the problem is because we find it difficult to translate the words tameh and tahor. So, for lack of a better word, we say clean and unclean. But clean. It's like it's not a matter of cleanliness. Okay, that's my pet peeve over here that I expressed. And so, okay, so in other words, when it comes to fish, we have a pretty fixed rule that we're able to apply, that the Torah tells us about fins and scales. If it has fins and scales, it's permitted, and otherwise not. Unlike the case of the birds, for reasons that we don't really know, but the Torah just told us, like Rav Hirsch, the way Rav Hirsch explains it, that the Torah doesn't give a sign for what makes a bird that we could use for food, meaning a bird which is tahor, and a bird which is tameh, that we may not eat. He says that we're just given 24 a list of 24 names of birds that are asur, meaning that they are tameh. Not that they're dirty, right? But they're just not allowed to be eaten. But of course, how do we know which those 24 are? So you'll say, well, what do you mean? Just look in the art scroll. The art scroll says the translation of what that word means, and that'll be the bird. Well, it's not as simple as matter that as the art scroll translating what the words in the Chumash mean. So it could be that it's subject to a debate amongst the earlier authorities, even what these different 24 birds, which the Torah assigns a name to them, but we're not necessarily knowledgeable about what those 24 birds are, which names they are, and which bird it is actually. So therefore, we cannot base ourselves upon the written word of what it says in the Chumash. We have to go with the oral tradition. So if we have an oral tradition that a bird is permissible, so then we go with that. And otherwise, we stay away. Okay, and we'll just leave it to art scroll to translate the 24. Okay. So now we got number 4 over here on the top of page 321. So we go back to Roy to continue, please.
Okay.
You can read as much of this. It's a whole page over here, so you can read as much as you like.
Amphibians, insects, worms are usually all forbidden for food, yet those which have come into being in closed up static liquids, for example, in barrels or pits, are permitted, even if they have no fin scales, as long as they have not been separated even once from the liquid in which they came into being. Never heard of that. But if they have been separated only once, they are forbidden for consumption, even if they are brought back again. Worms which have formed within fruit, as long as they were connected with the ground, are similarly forbidden. Worms which have formed in fruit after they have been separated from the ground may be eaten, as long as they have not moved away from their point of formation within the fruit. even if this separation from the ground occurs only after they are dead. They are, according to some authorities, forbidden. If mites and similar things be found in flour, salt, or fruits from which they cannot well be removed, then such flour, salt, or fruits may not be eaten. Concerning sale to a non-Jew, we've got to go and see another paragraph, 3. Well, we've seen it already, way back. Paragraph 384. This is 449, 350. This is 450. Anyway, every fruit where worms are to be expected must be examined before eating. See concerning this, Yoredea 84. For our regions, this applies to beans, peas, plums, prunes, etc. Yet this varies according to the place. In the summer, every substance in which mites may be expected must also be examined. If you have found 3 worms in a dish and you cannot assume that they fell in by chance, you must assume that there are more, and you may not eat any of the dish until you have made sure by ascertaining that there are no more worms in it, provided, of course, that such investigation is still possible at all. Worms in animals are forbidden for consumption. That must mean the worms that are in the animals are forbidden for consumption. Don't know about the animals themselves. In fishes, if between the skin and flesh, they are permitted, but those which are formed in the dead animals and fish flesh are permitted as long as they have not separated themselves therefrom. The same applies to cheese and all animal substances. All the worms which it has been said here may be eaten are permitted only as long as they are not loathsome. But if they are generally regarded as loathsome, or even only to the one who is eating, then their consumption is prohibited on account of their danger to health. Sakana. For example, paragraph 429 and Yoredea 84. The signs of cleanliness for locusts are 4 feet, 4 wings, which cover the greater portion of the length and circumference of the body, and 2 saltatory feet. Saltatory feet.
Is that a spelling mistake?
No, I don't think so.
Saltatory.
Yeah. And they thus belong to the type of what?
Chagav.
I can't. Chagav.
Tes Gimel Beis. Chagav.
Chagav. So they belong to the type of Chagav. What meaning what?
Is a locust or a grasshopper.
Ah,
There's officially there's some species that are permissible. If you could, he's giving the signs for them being a chagav tahor, one that would be permissible to eat. But then he continues over here. But for us
who lack experience and tradition concerning this, every locust is forbidden.
right.
Yoredea 85.
Okay, so that wraps it up for today. And have a great day to Mayor Yashikoya.
Very good. Have a good day, everyone.
Yeah,
Okay.
you too. See you around, Maya.
Okay, very good, Roy. Be well.
You too. And your wife.
Thank you. Yours too.
Remain,
Okay, bye now.
So,
Yeah.
know how this is supposed to work, but I can't.
You could put it all away. Why not? And early in the morning, when the sun is coming in on the couch and everything, I don't. I just put it